I never thought my mother could betray me. Not her. Not the one person I grew up believing would always protect me no matter what. But a few nights ago, everything shifted. It started at my engagement dinner. My fiancé, Mark, and I, both 26, had invited our closest family and friends to a small restaurant to celebrate. I wanted it to be intimate, warm, and full of love. My mom had insisted on helping me plan it, and I thought, great, she's excited to be involved. Except she wasn't just involved. She completely took over. From the moment we arrived, she acted like the host, not me. She rearranged the seating, gave a toast before I even had a chance to speak, and corrected me out loud when I stumbled while telling the story of how Mark proposed. It was embarrassing, but I brushed it off because I figured she was just nervous and excited. But then came the moment that shattered me. After dessert, my mom stood up again, tapped her glass, and said she had something important to share. I assumed it was another sentimental toast. Instead, she looked at me with this strange expression, half pity, half superiority, and said, before we celebrate this engagement any further, I think it's only fair that Mark knows the truth. The room went silent. My chest tightened. My mom smiled sweetly and continued, she doesn't want you to know this, but when she was in college, she cheated on her boyfriend. It was just once, but still if she did it before, she could do it again. I just think honesty is the best foundation for marriage, don't you? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. Mark's face went pale, my friends shifted uncomfortably, and my mom sat down as if she'd just done me the biggest favor in the world. That moment destroyed me. Yes, I cheated when I was 19. It was one night, with someone I didn't even care about. I told myself I would never do it again, and I haven't. I've carried that mistake quietly, worked hard to become better, and I never told Mark because it was from a different lifetime. It had nothing to do with us. But now, my mom had ripped it open in front of everyone I love. Mark pulled me aside later, clearly shaken. He said he still loved me, but he needed time to process everything. I understood that part. What I couldn't understand was my mother's cruelty. When I confronted her after the dinner, she shrugged and said, I was just being honest. You can thank me later. Better he hears it now than after the wedding. I asked her why she thought it was her place to expose something so personal, and she said, because you weren't going to. And secrets ruin marriages. I saved yours before it even started. I left her house in tears. Since then, I've barely spoken to her. She keeps calling, acting like nothing is wrong, as if she didn't just sabotage my engagement and humiliate me in front of everyone. And here's where I'm stuck. Part of me feels like maybe she's right, that maybe I should have told Mark, that maybe she did him a favor. But the larger part of me feels gutted by her betrayal. She wasn't protecting me. She was punishing me for what? I don't even know. So now I'm asking myself, am I the asshole for being furious at my mom over this? Or is she really the one who thinks she's saving me when in reality she's tearing my life apart? For the next few days after the dinner, I lived in a fog. My phone kept lighting up calls from my mom, texts from relatives who had been at the dinner, even messages from friends who weren't there but had already heard about it. Gossip spreads like wildfire in my family, and my mom had made sure she lit the match. Mark barely spoke to me. He wasn't cruel, he didn't yell or accuse, but his silence hurt more than shouting ever could. He went to work early, came home late, and when he was home, he busied himself with meaningless tasks, organizing drawers, cleaning the kitchen, scrolling endlessly on his phone. Anything to avoid looking me in the eye. Finally, after 3 days of this, I broke. Just say what you're thinking, I begged one night, standing in the doorway as he folded laundry with robotic precision. He paused, then said quietly, I don't know if I ever really knew you. What else haven't you told me? That shattered me. I told him everything, how the mistake happened when I was 19, how guilty I felt, how I swore never to do it again. How I hadn't told him because I was terrified it would taint what we had. Tears streamed down my face, but he just sat there, expression unreadable. I need time, he finally said. I'm not saying I'm leaving, but I can't pretend like nothing happened. I understood. but the wound my mother had carved between us was already deep. The next day, I went to her house. She greeted me cheerfully, as if nothing had happened. "Sweetheart, I was just thinking about you. Have you and Mark made up yet?" "Made up?" I snapped. "You humiliated me in front of everyone I love. You told him something that wasn't yours to tell." She tilted her head, her lips curling into that self-righteous smile had grown to dread. "I saved him from a lie. Don't you see? If he walks away now, he's walking away from the truth. That's better than staying with a cheater." The words hit me like a slap. She wasn't just exposing my past, she was branding me with it, forever. I realized then that my mom didn't do this to protect me or Mark. She did it to punish me. Maybe for making choices she disapproved of. Maybe for not living the life she wanted me to live. Whatever her reason, it wasn't love. It was control. I left her house without saying another word. But my mom wasn't done. A week later, I found out she'd called Mark directly. She told him he'd been hiding things my whole life, dredging up every small mistake he'd ever made, dropping out of a class in college, quitting my first job, even exaggerating about a scholarship I didn't get. She painted me as a serial liar, unworthy of trust. When I confronted her, she said, "If he still wants to marry you after this, then you'll know it's real. If not, better to find out now." I couldn't believe it. This wasn't honesty. This was sabotage dressed up as righteousness. Mark and I spiraled. He said he loved me, but every time I left the room, I could feel his doubt hanging in the air like smoke. The wedding planning stalled. Invitations sat unsent. And every time we talked about the future, it felt like we were standing on opposite sides of a crumbling bridge. One night, after yet another argument, he asked me the question that gutted me the most. "If your own mother can't trust you, why should I?" That's when I realized the betrayal wasn't just about the secret. It was about my mom taking a knife to the most important relationship of my life and twisting it until it bled. Now, I don't know what hurts more, the thought of losing Mark or the knowledge that my own mother wanted it this way. I haven't spoken to her in weeks. She leaves voicemails saying she misses me, that she only wanted what's best. But I can't believe that anymore. Because what kind of mother looks at her daughter's happiness and decides to destroy it? And here is the cruelest part. If Mark leaves, she'll say she was right all along. She'll claim victory, not realizing she's the very reason he walked away. The silence in our apartment became unbearable. Every time Mark looked at me, I felt like I was on trial. Not just for something I did when I was 19, but for every flaw, every secret, every imperfection I'd ever had. My mom's words echoed constantly. "If he still wants to marry you after this, then you'll know it's real." But it didn't feel like a test of love anymore. It felt like torture. One Friday evening, I came home to find Mark sitting at the kitchen table with 2 glasses of wine poured. My stomach dropped. He only did that when he had something serious to say. He gestured for me to sit. His face was pale, his hands clenched around the stem of the glass. "You've been thinking," he began slowly, "about us. About what your mom said. About everything." My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I braced myself for the words I'd been dreading. "I can't do this." But instead, he said, "I love you. I really do. But I don't know how to build a marriage on doubt. Every time I look at you now, there's this voice in my head asking, what else?" Tears stung my eyes. "Mark, there is nothing else. I swear." That mistake was the only time, and it's haunted me for years. I didn't tell you because I was terrified of losing you, not because I wanted to trick you. He reached across the table, his hand trembling. "I want to believe that, I do. But your mom," I cut him off, my voice sharper than I intended. "My mom doesn't want me to be happy, Mark. She wants control. She wants to tear us apart because she can't stand that I'm building a life without her approval." Mark hesitated, but I could see the seed of doubt still rooted deep inside him. My mom had planted it, watered it, and now it was blooming poison between us. The next blow came 2 days later. My cousin sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post my mom had made. She wrote a long, self-righteous message about truth and integrity in marriage, hinting at my past mistake without naming me directly, but it was obvious who she was talking about. Dozens of relatives commented, praising her bravery, agreeing that young people these days hide too much. I wanted to scream. I wanted to crawl into a hole. Instead, I called her. My hands shook as I waited for her to pick up. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful. "Sweetheart, did you see my post? I think it's starting an important conversation." An important conversation. My voice cracked. "You broadcasted my private life to our entire family." She sighed dramatically, as if I were the unreasonable one. "You should thank me. This way, everyone knows the truth before your wedding. Isn't it better than secrets coming out later?" I hung up before I said something unforgivable. That night, Mark saw me crying on the couch. He sat beside me, silent for a long time, then whispered, "I don't know if I can marry into this. Your mom, she's relentless, and she's not going to stop." For the first time, I realized that my mom's betrayal wasn't just about exposing my past. It was about ensuring my future never escaped her grasp. If she could sabotage this relationship, she'd prove she still held power over me. And the terrifying part, it was working. Days blurred together after that. Mark avoided talking about the wedding, and I avoided checking my phone because every time I did, there was another voicemail from my mom, another relative asking questions, another reminder that my life wasn't mine anymore, it was hers to dissect. Then came the moment that broke me. Mark came home late one night, and I noticed the smell of perfume on his shirt, not mine. My stomach sank. I asked him where he'd been. He hesitated, then said, "Out with co-workers." I pressed. He snapped. Finally, he admitted he'd gone out for drinks with a woman from his office. "Nothing happened," he insisted. "I just needed to clear my head." She listened. That's all. But I saw it in his eyes. The same distance I'd once seen in myself years ago when I'd made my own mistake. And all I could think was, my mom did this. She cracked us open and poured poison inside. Now, I'm stuck between fury and despair. Furious at my mom for tearing my life apart under the guise of honesty. Furious at Mark for letting her words infect his heart. And despair because I don't know if love is strong enough to survive when betrayal comes not from a stranger, not from a partner, but from the person who was supposed to protect me the most. The wedding is on hold. My relationship feels like it's dangling by a thread. And my mom. She's acting like nothing's wrong, already talking about what dress she'll wear if the wedding happens. Sometimes I wonder if the real question isn't whether I'm the asshole for being upset with her, but whether I'm the fool for ever believing she wanted me to be happy at all.